All right, welcome everybody. Let's talk some politicking here. That's John King over there. I'm Peter Christian. Joining us in the studio this morning is Madison or Maddy Schroeder. Which do you prefer?
You know, it is Schroeder, but most people say Schroeder, so
okay.
It's interchangeable. Like
Madison or Maddy?
Maddy.
Maddy,
yeah,
all right.
That'd be great. Thank
there
you
you
so
go.
much.
All right.
Not mad.
Mad.
You get it?
Mad dog.
Not Mad Dog.
Too much, you get in trouble.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I
Right?
mean,
Edgy.
You could run for Secretary of Defense with a name like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's hear a little bit. You're running for mayor here in Missoula.
Yes, that's right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're in the race.
First of all, are you insane? I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah, I know. What project to tackle.
Yeah.
I am running for mayor. That's correct. I'm one of 3 people that's running. I do want to tell people it's a mail-in election, so just make sure you're watching for your ballot in the mail. Fill in a bubble, send it back.
Okay.
Also important.
All right.
But yeah, I'm running for mayor. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I'm from Missoula. I really am passionate about my community and have always felt that if I thought somebody should do something, that I should step up and be that person. And so that's why I chose to run for mayor.
Perfect. Yeah.
Sorry about the mic there, guys.
That's okay.
So I chose to run because I always felt like if somebody needed to do something, I should be that person. Even if it's picking up a piece of trash on the road or whatever it may be, I feel it's important to take action if you feel like there's a problem. I feel like there's a problem with our current system in Missoula and with the incumbent. And so that's why I think it's time for a change and a new perspective.
So what are the problems as you see them in the current system?
Sure. I mean, I think it's pretty apparent if you just spend a day traveling throughout Missoula. There's obviously huge issues with the roads. There's a lot of projects that are incomplete or in the process or maybe haven't even started yet that need to be addressed. And I think people feel it day to day. Kind of the quiet issue is the budget. And that's a big problem for a lot of people in balancing the budget and making sure we're allocating funds correctly.
So we just went through the budgeting process. This, they just finalized it. What was it? Monday night? And so, one of the things that came up during that process was they had open time. They wanted people to come and talk about budgeting and priorities. And I think it was 2 weeks ago or something, they were kind of complaining that no one came. Mm-hmm. Well, what are the problems that you see in the budget that just passed?
Sure. So I'm not sure how knowledgeable people are about the budget process, and you two, I think, are probably...
I would assume nobody knows anything.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just my opinion. Mm-hmm. Most of the people that I talk to, and this is not scientific, this is just, anecdotally speaking, I would say a huge percentage of the people that I talk to about budgets, things going on within the city, they get this glazed over look in their eye, and they say, it doesn't matter what I say, they'll do whatever they want to do. It's just, I love Missoula, I love the mountains, I love all this kind of stuff. We just happen to have a form of government that just doesn't seem to listen to the people, so why bother?
Sure.
And so I want to know, as John mentioned, let's talk about the budget. What in the budget needs to be looked at more carefully? Okay,
so just starting from square one, I do think it's important that people are engaged in their community and know what's going on with the budgeting process. I do think it's difficult for people to be present at some of the meetings when they work, and so that's a difficulty. I also feel like today we have so many different ways to communicate with one another. The city utilizes what I would say were probably 2 is open meetings to the public, and then also navigation to their website. The city website, in my view, is a little bit difficult to navigate and find times for meetings and things like that. And there's not a lot of proactive action on the part of the city to inform the public about when they are available and when they are open to hear comments and things.
Well,
what
would be really helpful is if, and I'm saying this not facetiously or tongue in cheek or snarkily, is that a word? That if somebody from the city was willing to come on this program, which addresses between 20 and 25,000 people every single day, maybe once a week or once a month, mm-hmm. and says, we have meetings on this and this and this and this, please come, and stood right there and took questions from people and just talked back and forth, communicated with folks, rather than just sending out an edict and hopefully it lands in somebody's email or whatever. I think, let me ask you this. If you were elected, would you be willing to come on this show and talk to the people once a month?
Yeah, 120%.
Well, we don't have an extra 20%.
We can work it into the budget. Don't worry about it.
We barely have time as it is. I guess we could cut some PSAs maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that a lot of people wonder about the budget is where does it all go, and what are the priorities? So,
correct.
Well, do you think that the city is not prioritizing the right things, and do you think that we're spending money on stuff we shouldn't?
Sure. So in terms of priority, that's actually something that's number one on my list. I do think that the city budget needs to be audited very thoroughly. I think that's important. Once you audit the budget and everything's accounted for, then what you can do is go back in and kind of triage projects and triage or reprioritize, however you want to phrase it. Figure out what needs addressing immediately, that's of immediate concern to the people of Missoula, and do that first, and reorganize what's being done and at what times.
Well, what would you put at the top of the list?
Sure.
See, the problem we have, right, is that a lot of people don't communicate their wishes to the city of Missoula. Mm-hmm. That's what the current city council and mayor were complaining about just a week or two ago. So if the people aren't communicating to you, then it's going to be hard for you to find out what the people want. And so a lot of what you decide is going to be what you go in there with.
Right. Well, and to that point, what I would say is it's really important. If you don't feel like somebody's talking to you, maybe you should go try and find that person and ask them. You know?
Well, here's the deal. I understand that the city has a little bit of a bone to pick with KGVO. We've had a little bit of a history. I understand that. But you know what? There are dozens of other media outlets around Missoula, whether it's radio or television or whatever, that would be thrilled to have a representative from the mayor's office or the city council on a weekly or a monthly basis coming in and talking about stuff. You know, I mean, they all start with a K, you know, I mean,
right.
And that's fine. The whole idea is to get it out there and communicate, whether it's us or somebody else.
I don't know. You guys are pretty threatening, so I'm not sure.
We are
the
very
big
mean.
red button that I hit that drops the floor out underneath.
Right, that's
you.
a scary. I am standing above a trapdoor in case anyone's
very
wondering.
intimidating. Looks like we have our first caller.
We certainly do. All right, let's get right to the phones.
Oh, by the way, if you want to call, 721-1290 is a great number to call in, and we'll get you on the air to ask a question of Maddy.
And Tim, I'm going to make you wait. I'm sorry. We're up against our first break. I'm the commercial sheriff, so we're going to come right back. If you'll hang on, Tim. Oh, there's another line ringing. We have two other lines.
It's filling up.
Yay! You're going to be a rock star any minute. 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. Maddy Schroeder joining us in studio this morning. She is a mayoral candidate. I've been practicing that word all day, so I didn't mess it up. Mayoral. The mayoral candidate. Let's get Tim on the line. Tim, thanks for holding. You're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Great. Thanks for taking my call. I have two questions. Now that the city owns the water company and we were supposed to stop the bleeding of the $12 million a year of profit heading out of the state, why did we borrow $140 million to buy the water company when if we were going to generate that $12 million a year to put towards infrastructure, I don't know why we had to borrow that much. The second question I have is, now that we have a city paving company that the city runs as the road department, what happens to all those people in the wintertime? We surely know they're not plowing snow. They can't do mechanical work because of the labor union at the city. And why is that? Why are those people not a seasonal employee? Because what do we do with all those people all winter long?
Okay. Thanks for the call, Tim.
You bet.
All right. So what do you think, Maddy?
Yeah. So thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. The water company, oh my goodness, what a big deal that is, right? So you're right. The city.
Would you have done that? Would you have pursued this?
So for me, a city is a collection of people and businesses, right? The job of a city is to provide services for those people and safety. So that's fire, city services, police, things of that nature, infrastructure. I do think it is important that the city of Missoula owns the water company. However, I think the manner in which it was executed was poor. And I think eventually it will be an asset to Missoula to own their own water company in the immediate future, and maybe even in the next 15 years, 20 years, it's going to feel like it's not a benefit, is my opinion on that.
What did you see that they did that you would have done differently? What was the poor part of the acquisition?
So, in my opinion, the incumbent mayor maybe should have consulted with some people who had better knowledge on how to transact business deals, how to go through buy-sell agreements, things like that. It's my understanding that was kind of conducted between him and an administrator from the Carlisle group. And I don't know how seriously Carlisle took the incumbent, to be honest. And so that's a concern of mine. And I know the price tag is going to be difficult for people to manage for some time.
So let me just get you here. So
Sure,
when it comes to it, if you couldn't have done a buy sale on the open market, would you have started condemnation? Did you approve of the condemnation process,
right?
Or did you think that the line should have been drawn when we got to the end of a regular buy sale on the open market?
Right. So, in terms of the condemnation and advocating for that at this point in history, I'm not certain that was the best idea, and the reason for that is there is no money. So, if you don't have money to purchase something, maybe you just need to wait. And that doesn't mean you can't do it eventually.
Well, the reason the condemnation was used was because they felt the price was just exorbitant, and so according to Mayor Engen,
right.
that was the final option was, okay, we'll do condemnation. And,
you guys have the numbers on that,
right,
though,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the numbers, what are the numbers from when Carlisle purchased it?
Right?
Oh,
I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
But it was a fair market value. The offer from the city was low. Carlisle said that's kind of a joke. That's not even close to fair market value.
Right.
And didn't take it seriously.
Because they're a for-profit company. I mean, that's...
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, and it's pretty easy to charge whatever you want when you turn on a faucet. Everybody needs to use water. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, I might have my history wrong here, but I remember speaking with the mayor, and I thought it was really funny because they had a buy-sell agreement. They knew the price. And then when they went to go give a final real offer, the mayor undershot even that price with an even lower offer. It was like he was trying to goad them into a condemnation system.
I'm not sure what the nature of those meetings were because I wasn't present.
He talked about that a little bit on our air. I asked him about why he had taken an even lower valuation. And by the way, we ended up spending way more than that through the condemnation process and into infinity and beyond. With this
so I think, so for me, just real quickly on the water, what's super important for me is we're already doing stuff. We're an initial startup cost for a brand new water company.
Been there, done that.
It's already happening. Right. I think what people should really know and be aware of in Missoula is we sit on a very beautiful, clean aquifer from which we draw our water. And I think it's really important that the city of Missoula shepherds that water and takes care of it diligently and ensures that we do have safe drinking water and potable water for the foreseeable future and that it's accessible for people. I don't think the mayor should run the water company. I think there should definitely be a committee or a council of 5 to 7 independent, nonpartisan people.
Let me tell you, I made that exact suggestion to Brian von Lossberg, that there should be a citizen water council.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because when you look, and he brought this up, he said, when you look at the aggregate number of people with amazing knowledge about water, I mean, engineers and experts, and the University of Montana's right here, and hydrologists and whatever, and have a whole bunch of those folks on a committee, not necessarily with, looking into every little thing, but overseeing the major decisions that are made so that at least the people are represented.
Absolutely. What a huge asset we have with so many people related to water in and around Missoula. I totally agree.
But the answer I got from the mayor and from the administration was, you already have a water council. It's called the city council. So you have 12 people that you can hector them in the grocery store and, say why, blah, 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 blah. And your complaints will be heard.
Sure. And city council is extremely busy, and I understand that. So it's difficult for any one person of city council to be an expert on anything. And Tim asked a little bit about the roads too, but maybe we'll talk about that.
Well, we definitely have to talk about that. Real quick, the valuation that the city said was $46 million.
Yeah,
that's what they said before we went in. When they got through the valuation, it was $88.6 million is what the court said.
That was the judgment.
Which is basically the split difference between what Carlisle said it was worth $142 million.
But they had originally purchased it for a significant amount of money. And I don't think 142 was significantly...
Well, $1 million is significant to me. I don't even know.
No, but I'm just
what
saying the difference between what...
$88.6 million looks like.
Anyway, we're up against another break. And I tell you, when we come back, I want you to go ahead and try to answer Tim's question, because I threw you off.
Yeah,
on
sorry
the
about that,
deal.
Tim. We'll get to roads.
We'll get Tim's question, and we'll talk with Catherine. And by the way, we have another hour to talk with Maddy. So give us a call, 721-1290. We'll be right back. All right, we're back on Talkback. Madison, Maddy Schroeder joining us in the studio, mayoral candidate. Tim asked some questions about roads and maintenance and things like that, so go ahead and address that if you would.
Sure. So I will try to be a little brief on roads, I think, just because I think everyone understands in what poor condition some of the roads are in right now. And I know the city is trying so hard to take care of those things. It's just not getting done fast enough. So in terms of roads, what I think would be really important is to make that a priority, maybe ahead of some other issues. And that kind of goes back to auditing the budget, seeing maybe what can wait. That's not an immediate necessity, and then addressing roads first. So in Missoula, it's a confluence of a lot of different areas. So there's mixed use for the roads and mixed oversight for the roads. And so what I would like to do first thing is consult with Montana Department of Transportation and see what can be done immediately to alleviate some of the problems with the integrity of the roads.
Now, what about his question about what happens to the guys that are doing all the paving and chip sealing right now? What happens to them in the winter? I mean,
no, I know some of those guys, and to be completely honest with you, I'm not sure why plowing isn't more of a priority. My best guess is that they would say there's not enough equipment or funds to operate the plows at the rate that is necessary to have them clear at all times. I do think that's important to make sure those are plowed. The residential areas, it's tough because there's a lot of them and there's a lot of tight roads in there.
What about things like leaf cleanup? I think it's hilarious. I live on the south end of town, and you're supposed to put your leaves out at the edge. I mean, multiple years, the snow comes and throws, and then they stop leaf pickup after that point. So then we have an ice block of leaves that just kind of hangs out through winter.
Yeah, so roads, I would qualify that as a service, and it's not functional right now for a lot of people. And cleanliness, service, maintenance of the roads, those are very important, essential functions of a city, in my opinion. We have them so that we can get around and visit our neighbors. We can go to work and do these things. And if that's not working, that's a huge problem.
Okay, let's get back to the phone. And we got about a minute and a half. Catherine, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Two questions. One of the problems I see with the city government is it unilaterally imposes costs on the citizens without the courtesy of a vote. The water company being an example, Eco Compost being another example. There was no referendum, there was no initiative, there was no bonding, nothing. And so I was wondering, would that be something that you would change? And I'm thinking that maybe they have some other things in mind at this point. So I was wondering if that is something that you would consider changing.
So basically, you want to have a vote on the next $140 million bond.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think that would be a kind of a.
Why would you want to do that, Catherine?
I don't know.
Right, I know. I hear you.
Don't get it.
Thanks, Catherine.
All right, thank you.
Got about 1 minute.
Okay, I'll try to go fast. Catherine, you're so awesome.
That's
I appreciate
okay. We have another hour. We can pick it up after.
So Catherine's concern is that we're not communicating again with the residents of Missoula on how to spend money and what issues we're tackling and when. Instead, what a lot of people feel, and I think it's not just a feeling, but it's in part true, is that things are being pushed through city council without much knowledge of the public. And a lot of times we find out about those things after the fact. That's when it's covered in the Missoulian. That's when it's covered on the news, is this passed. And everyone goes, well, wait a minute. I didn't even know anyone was talking about that.
Okay, we're going to take a break right now. We have a hard break coming up. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Maddy's going to be with us for another hour. Get yourself in the queue and give us a call. We'll be right back. 721-1290. We welcome back Madison Maddy Schroeder. She's a mayoral candidate. One thing that we didn't do, shame on us, being bad hosts, is a lot of folks out there want to know, what are your qualifications? Tell us about your education,
Sure.
how long you've been in Missoula, stuff like that.
Yeah, so Catherine, thanks for calling back and asking that question about my background a little bit. So I grew up in Missoula. I was not born in Missoula, regrettably, but I have lived here since childhood. For high school, I attended Sentinel High School. I grew up off of Garrett, lived in a duplex there when I was little, and then eventually lived in a single-family home through high school. Went to Sentinel, graduated from Sentinel. I used to be a heck of a golfer. I'm still okay at it, I suppose, but I went to the University of Nebraska, played for the Cornhuskers for golf for a year. I missed Missoula, my home, so much that I came back and actually played for the Lady Grizz. And got my degree from the University of Montana. Initially, when I started out in school, I started out in business. Business is really, those classes are very dry. And as I got older and maybe started to express myself a little bit more, I actually achieved a degree in the arts. And so I have a degree in media arts focused on film production. So that encompasses shooting film, editing, sound design, things like that. I also have a little bit of a handle on the German language, which is something that I share with one of the other candidates. I think she also speaks a different language, but...
Well, you just have to know it to pronounce your last name.
Pretty much, yeah. So that was the goal. I can do that, so I win. But yeah, so I'm from Missoula. Like I said, I grew up on the south side of town. You can see my footprints. On my Facebook page, I actually just made a really fast PDF. It took me like 5 minutes. And I put little blue markers at every place that I had lived in Missoula. So you can kind of see a trail that leads from the South Hills and then down Hillview and to the university and through downtown. And now I'm on the west side. So I've lived everywhere in town. I've worked for many, many local businesses throughout high school.
What are you doing now?
Yeah, so I'm a licensed insurance agent. I've been working for State Farm. Right now, I'm primarily focused on winning this election and serving my community and my neighbors that I love so much, and I appreciate you all so much for listening. And I do a little side biz, give golf lessons, stuff like that to make a little extra money. But I've been a bartender. I sell insurance. I've worked in health. I've worked for a law office. I worked for Stove Roods for a while before they closed. What a great business that we lost. But yeah, a lot of different things. So I know a little bit about everything, I guess.
Well, you're good at golf. Why don't you go for the presidency? That seems to be the pastime par excellence.
Everyone would be embarrassed, though. I couldn't do that.
Let's go through some of our Facebook questions. By the way, if you have a question for Maddy, give us a call at 721-1290. Paul says, people don't come to the city council meetings because decisions are always made and already made. They lie, they mislead people, and money for the cronies who control the town is the most important concern. Other ideas are not discussed or considered. When it does come to the issue of discussion and the big issues, I think one of the things that came through recently when they did the final deal on the water system, if you remember, it was like a 15-minute meeting, right? Because this had all been decided behind closed doors long before the actual city council meeting. They don't actually have their discussions there, it seems.
Are you talking about the court case that I covered a little while ago?
Yeah, when they finally announced it.
Yeah. Well, the reason it took 15 minutes was because all the legal haranguing it had taken the last 3 years to get done. And so all they had to do was sign the condemnation papers, and they actually had a handwritten check for $88 million that you can see a copy of it on our website.
Isn't that crazy? And then they had to settle. Was that the Canadian company that had a judgment against Carla?
Liberty?
Was that right? Yeah, it's like $6 million additional dollars.
Algonquin or something like that.
Yeah. But they took out bond of $140 million.
140
Yeah,
million, just in case.
Just rainy day.
Just in case.
Slush fund. We also have a question from Elena. She says, what does she think about the resolution the council passed to continue recognizing the Paris Accords?
Elena.
Yeah, the city council's always doing stuff like that. I mean, it's like here we are, the city council of Missoula, Montana. We're against the Iraq War. Here we are, the city council of Missoula, Montana. We're for climate change stuff.
Yes.
Well, they were.
Don't you have important stuff to do?
They do. Yeah, you're
Sorry.
right. No, you're right, Peter. I mean, they do. There's important things that need addressing, and so for me, I guess what I would say is just let's keep this very simple.
It's a feel-good thing.
Yeah, you can make it as complex as you would like. You can add in as many things as you would like. When your city's not functioning, people can't get to work on time. People hit a pothole and they blow their tire out. They have concerns about their neighborhood safety, things like that, and those are concerns. I think your last order of business should be anything related to anything beyond your city. That's my opinion.
So you're saying that we shouldn't have gotten ourselves involved in
it's none of your business.
UN resolution?
Yeah,
All right. Montana Gun Owner says, I don't know what their personal opinion is.
Montana Gun Owner,
I'm
awesome.
guessing they're pro-Second Amendment somehow. Do you oppose or support the universal background checks for firearm transactions? Do you support or oppose semi-automatic weapons? Do you support or oppose magazine capacity limits?
Okay, so those are really, really detailed gun ownership questions that aren't necessarily something that I get to decide.
Well, the city of Missoula did pass a
Yes.
gun ordinance, if you recall, which was just in the last year and a half.
It hasn't been implemented yet, though.
Well, they tried.
Right.
Right.
And so where would you stand?
And then the
stood on that issue?
state decided that the city of Missoula didn't get to decide that.
The attorney general did not
Right.
approve of that
Correct.
plan.
Yes.
But by the way, the city kept pushing it. Anyway, despite the
So
attorney
again,
general's position.
to just go back to what I've been saying a little bit about some other things is, why are you trying to regulate gun ownership when you have potholes and roads and trash on the streets? And
May I ask
Yeah.
another really deep, important question?
Sure.
Circus animals? Hello?
Sure. Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
No elephants in the city limits? Come on. I mean, come on.
So, and that's okay. So these are important questions to ask, and they're ethical, moral issues. And I think if you have time and the resources to address those things, then that's great. And please do that. Please have positive discourse with your neighbors about these issues that people are very passionate about, but get to the important things first. When you can go from the north end of reserve to the south end of reserve and it functions well for you and there's not a car accident and it doesn't take you an hour and a half or whatever it may be, or you can get across Russell Bridge without rolling your windows down and taking your seatbelt off in case it tumbles. I mean, those are important things. So I do agree that there does need to be, Missoula's always been so creative, but we need to address the important things first. To me, the circus animal thing was not of immediate importance. And with gun ownership, I'm a gun owner. I like to hunt. I pheasant hunt. I also go out and try to grab a deer once a year. And so I'm pro gun ownership. I've purchased guns at gun shows and from businesses with a background check. So I've done both. And I know that that's a big concern for people. I think in my opinion, just from what I've seen, I think we're okay for right now. And when that becomes a bigger issue or a larger problem where we have more gun violence in Missoula, then we will address it at that time.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Paul is on the line, and I have a question about, there's a tremendous amount of focus from this present administration on downtown Missoula. Okay, downtown Missoula is a very special place, lots of stuff going on. There's all sorts of building going on. But the one problem that nobody's ever been able to really solve is the problem with transients and people, getting spare change.
Right.
And so, and how do you deal with that? How would you deal with that as mayor? Because that is a specific problem that the government of the city of Missoula has to take care of. And we're going to come right back with more. Wait, by the way, we have 3 other lines open. 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back. All right, well, welcome back to Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. Mr. John King over there. I'm Peter Christian, joining us in the studio. Mayoral candidate Madison, or better known as Maddy Schroeder. And let's get right to the phones. Paul is waiting. Good morning, Paul. What's on your mind?
Too much all the time. Maddy, as far as the city goes and as far as legal processes, when the city violates the law, the state attorney general says he can't do anything about it. Shouldn't a council member or a mayor ensure that the law is being followed when the city does anything?
Hi, Paul. Yes, the mayor and city council, working with the Missoula Police Department, should ensure that the law is being followed at all times.
Yeah, in the government, as far as the city attorney following the law, as far as the city, like when they buy a stadium, they don't call a brand new stadium blighted to put it in a new urban renewal district, and then lie in the ordinance, and then have the Supreme Court kind of repeat the same lie,
sure,
saying that the Civic Stadium was in Urban Renewal District 2 originally, when in fact it was in Urban Renewal District 1. That district was closed out. They ran out of money. To buy the stadium, they set up a deal in 2007 and drew a circle from the Urban Renewal District boundary, which just happened to be adjacent, around the stadium. And then 5 years later, they bought the stadium to basically outdo the statute of limitations for fraud.
Sure.
Okay, so let's let her answer that. So go ahead. What do you think?
Okay, so Paul, I would agree with you. Those are concerning issues that you've brought up. What I would go back to again is kind of what everyone's been saying about transparency and not being involved in decision making or not understanding the issue at hand. So my goal for that would be to educate the people of Missoula on what issues are happening right now today, and give them some options on how to deliver feedback to the mayor's office and city council.
Well, what would your options be that are different than what we already have?
Sure. So I think it's really, social media, like it or not, it exists. I think there's a lot of ways that we could be proactive with vlogs or video blogging.
So if I send you an emoticon cat, how do you interpret that?
Right, yeah.
What do you do with that?
I guess it would depend on the context. But so, yeah, I think it's important to involve people. And I think there's a way that the city can be more proactive with a very small amount of resources, or even just, I would do it. Honestly, I would volunteer my own time after hours. I can put together little videos. I can throw them on the internet and be like, here's what's going on with the Osprey Stadium. Here's what's going on with Urban Renewal District 1. People can watch that video. They can look online, have it really immediate, comprehensive rundown of the issue so that they understand.
So when we're talking about these urban renewal districts or tax increment financing districts, one of the things that people are critical of is the amount of money that doesn't go into the general fund. So, for example, over here on the south side of Missoula, we have this large stretch that includes the mall and this new bridge that everyone's using all the time. And the money that would go towards the general fund to help pay for your school system, your fire, your police and stuff, it's not all going there. The growth in the tax base that's happened in that has been delayed going to the general fund. And instead, it's plowed back into, well, basically the region, including the facades of some of these buildings, the mall, things like that, the bridge. And so a lot of people are, concerned that Missoula has gotten a system where they take money that would go to support children's education and are putting it into the pockets of people that own giant corporations, many of them not even from Montana.
Oh, totally.
And so the question is, are we basically just, shilling money out to, rich business people instead of to the general fund and the public?
Sure.
Do you think that there is a problem with the way we're running our urban renewal districts, or do you think that the benefit of getting a new area revitalized, South Crossing, is worth it?
Sure. So Missoula is trapped in a valley, right? We only have so much space to move. So some of these areas, instead of spreading or sprawling, we do need to go back into areas and improve them. Again, what I would say is, how important is that right now today? Do we need to put a new facade on a building? Do we need to build a large pedestrian bridge? Or do we need to address things like roads, city maintenance, things like that?
Do you think it's the job of city government to go and put facades on buildings?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Tell you what, we're up against another break. We have Jim, and Gregan. That sounds like a band. We're going to come right back.
Gregan was on last time.
Yeah.
Jim and Gregan.
We're going to come right back. We have one line open, by the way, if you want to visit with Madison, Maddy Schroeder, If you're a mayoral candidate, you're welcome to join us. Yeah, Lisa or John, give us a call, 721-1290. We'll be right back. Why not? And we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number here on KGVO. Thanks for joining us. We have Jim. Actually, it's kind of confusing. Jim number 1 is on line 2. So let's get to Jim number 1 first. Jim, you're on with Maddy Schroeder. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. I have a very pointed question. Some time ago, the state of Montana allowed cities to either set up special improvement districts or to have a mill levy that was dedicated to the parks and dedicated to the highways. In other words, Missoula and every other city was allowed to say, okay, we're going to put 2 mills on our, taxing structure for repair of streets. We're going to put 2 mills on our taxing structure for maintenance of the parks. And the mayor was very honest. He came out and he said, we are going to take the maximum on both of these taxes, and it's on all of our tax bills right now. Mm-hmm. And he said, but we are not, I repeat, we are not going to use it for the parks, and we are not going to use it for the streets. We're going to use it to pay the insurance premiums of the city employees so they will have no deductible. My question to you is, I think that's illegal, but I'm not sure because I'm not an attorney.
Wow.
Will you take that money that is being used to pay the premiums of the health insurance for the people who work for the city of Missoula and put it and use it for the parks and use it for the streets maintenance like it was set up for in the first place?
All right. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the call. What do you think?
Okay, so healthcare is a big one. City healthcare probably will change in the next 4 years, regardless, because of the nature of national healthcare. In terms of having a $0 deductible, I'm not sure if that's accurate or not because I'm not a city employee yet, and I don't have a copy of the policy in front of me. A $0 deductible is a really nice policy. Let's say that. So that means you can go to the doctor and not have to pay anything for your treatment unless you have a different max out of pocket. So what I would say is not very many people are afforded the luxury of having a $0 deductible. I'm not sure that is reasonable given the state of the city at this time. I do not want to take away anyone's healthcare coverage. I appreciate their service to the city, but that would be something that needs to be looked at, and just to make sure that it's fair and it's not skewed and extremely beyond what other people in Missoula are feeling in terms of their healthcare.
Well, I would like to know what Jim said is actually true about
right. I don't know
about agreeing to do a mill levy for the roads or for the parks and saying we're not going to do that. We're going to use that because we don't want our guys to have to pay. Well,
and by our guys, I believe the mayor also counts as a municipal employee.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, he's an employee of the city.
Yeah. Well, and so what I would say, I mean, in terms of healthcare, everybody wants healthcare.
Because that to me seems fundamentally dishonest.
I want help. I mean, I'll be honest, I would love to have a $0 deductible policy. That would be amazing, but I don't know.
All right. Let's get back to the phones, and we have the other Jim. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Excellent. What's on your mind, sir?
Before the break, John wanted to ask a question. I've kind of forgotten what it was, but I know that I made up an answer real quick in my head. And it was...
Are you ready for Mayor 2 now, Jim?
John, because that's how they do it in Portland, Oregon. And, it doesn't matter what all your guest is wanting to say. She's saying things that are how these money's going to be spent. I want to know, and so does everybody else want to know, is when is she going to lower the taxes? And how does she plan on doing that? Mm-hmm. Right now, I've got rentals, and if I raise the taxes appropriately for what the Politburo is charging me extra for every month, 5% now, I'm going to have to increase their rent $100 a month, and that's going to put some of those kids right out on the curb. Mm-hmm. And that is not fair.
So instead, you have to eat that,
right? And I don't find that. I want to know what you're going to do to lower taxes. I'd also like somebody out there in radio land to explain what in the hell do the 4 X's stand for.
It's art,
What
man.
are
The
they? And I
X's
know
are a
I'm
piece of
paying
art,
for it. I know I'm
sculpture.
paying for it,
Yeah.
but I want to know what I want them out of there.
You paid for
I
it
mean-
long ago.
How would anyone
Yeah, well, they
navigate
just
downtown
rebuilt
without
it. They
knowing where the
refurbished
X's
it.
were?
Yeah.
Remember, they refurbished it.
Yeah.
We had to pay for that. I mean, we don't have a major porno outfit in Montana or Missoula, and we sure don't have a major distillery. So what are the 4 X's for?
That's a very good question.
Good question, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the call. So, aside from the 4 X's,
Right.
now let me ask specifically.
Well, maybe we could expand into an illegal industry.
One of the things Mayor Engen emphasized when he was interviewed, I believe by one of the television stations or somebody, he said, as long as I am mayor, we will have tax increases every year because of the contracts with city employees and the various organizations that we work with, city, fire, municipal employees, whatever. Now Missoula Water Company, they have contracts that are promised certain increases every year, and
Correct.
we have to be faithful to pay those. We have that legal obligation to do so. So if you just look at that alone,
Right.
there has to be a tax increase virtually every year.
Correct.
So as an incoming mayor, how do you go in and start scratching stuff out and try to equal that out so at least we have a 0% increase?
Right. So with the budget, fiscal year 2018 just passed on the 24th, the evening of the 24th. When you're looking at property taxes, that is the main source of revenue for the city.
That's probably pretty much the only source of revenue.
Right. And, another huge chunk of that is intergovernmental, so that means it comes from other agencies. With property tax, I think like anything else, like milk or gas, whatever it may be, it's not ever going to be zero. And I'm so sorry. I wish that I could make it zero, but it's never going to happen. And if anybody says that it's going to, they're lying to you.
That what's going to be zero?
That property tax will be zero.
Well, no one. I don't think anyone's hoping for that. But 3.8% increase every year is what people are upset about.
Sure.
Right?
So the rate, I think it would be fair, reasonable to have property tax increase with the rate of inflation. The problem for me with the budget is it's not only property tax, it's all of these other things that are costing Missoulians money. And the sole source of revenue right now is property tax. The city's already made commitments to pay for things, and it's already spoken for. So unfortunately for me, especially when I get elected 12 months after that, it's going to be very difficult to mitigate any of these expenditures because it's already been promised. That's something that you need to look at. And for me, the devil's in the details. So if we can scrimp and save money, if we can eat ramen instead of steak, things like that, that's what matters, and find those pennies and allocate them accordingly.
By the way, 3.8% is more than double the rate of inflation.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It'd be fair to have the rate of inflation.
We're going to come right back. Gregan and Ben, if you'll hang on, we have 2 other lines open. 721-1290 is our number.
And I do have a quick clarification.
Go.
He says it wasn't a zero deductible. It was that their premium was paid for.
Okay.
Not that their deductible was zero. So he was mistaken. And he just wanted to know if you think that the money that was set aside for parks should have gone to parks instead of...
Still. I mean, let's say your monthly premium is $125.
That would be cheap for a lot of people.
Yeah,
that would be cheap for a lot of people, yeah.
And how many city employees are there?
Well, you can look at it. I have it right here, actually. There's not a ton of them, but there's a lot. There's enough that it's a significant aspect of the budget.
We're going to come right back. 721-1290. This is great. And this is what community radio is all about. We want to have your comments, your suggestions. We don't want to necessarily beat up on the mayor or the city council, but wish they'd come on and speak for themselves. So we're going to come right back with more in a moment. All right, we're back on the Thursday edition of Talk Back. A little bit of politicking going on here this morning. Mayoral candidate Madison Maddy Schroeder joining us here in studio.
By the way, I think I know an answer towards the 4 X's.
Okay.
The porn industry, I think, just uses 3. There's no point in adding another one to that.
What if it's an extra awesome industry?
I don't know. But it's my understanding.
It's 4X. Yeah.
It's my understanding that is a representative of a railroad trestle, and the X's actually are right in front of the depot, right back, the old depot.
Right.
And so my guess is that that's what it's for. I believe that's what it's for.
Okay.
At least that's what I've always grown up. Now, if someone can explain the dead lion, that's another piece of art that we called them splat lion when I was growing up, but the mountain lion
in front of the parking.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That one is beyond me.
Mountain lion.
Yeah, but why would it be dead?
So you want something more regal?
Well, I guess so.
Put a crown on it.
I mean, maybe it's an indication of how much money that's going to make.
All right. Let's get Gregan on the line. Gregan, thanks for holding. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, everyone there. Question. Would you consider after a law enforcement shooting, the incident is reviewed by an outside law enforcement agency to verify the findings?
They already are.
Would you consider a grand jury to finalize the information gained?
You know, I think what you're asking here is something that may be out of the purview of the mayor. To be honest with you, I think that lies with the Missoula County Attorney's Office.
Okay. Well, thank you much, then.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks for the call.
They do have a separate hearing process for that. Yeah. I forget what it's called, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's get Ben on the line. Ben, thanks for holding. You're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Hey there, gang. Hi, Maddy. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I have 4 nonpartisan yes or no questions.
Bring it, man. Let's hear it.
Yes or no. Wow.
All right. Do you support the following 4 things? Number 1, and these are some ideas that I've had for a while, moving committee meetings for city council from the archaic notion that they should all be held on Wednesdays all day, which really prevents more standard working people in the community from serving on city council. Would you support moving those committee meetings to the evenings or to a digital format or some way that would allow regular citizens of Missoula who have careers to also serve?
Yeah, can you hang out on the line with me for a second, Ben, and we'll just knock these out as we go?
Yeah, you want to do them one by one? Sure.
Sure, yeah. So in terms of the meetings, I agree with you. The city's justification for changing the meeting times, which is posted on the city website, and you can look, but it does change frequently for the times on Wednesday, is that the people that serve on city council also have jobs, and due to their work schedules, that they need to accommodate themselves in order to all meet at the same time. But yes, I agree with you that it should be at the same time every single Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, if a candidate wants to sit on city council, they pretty much have to sacrifice an entire Wednesday, which is the middle of the work week, which for most people is pretty hard to do. I think we could attract much better candidates with more business acumen and common sense if we were to hold those meetings in the evenings at a time that was more accessible to working class folks.
Right. Question number 2.
Yep.
Okay. Question number 2. Do you support ranked choice voting for all city elections?
Ranked choice voting for all city elections.
You may need to look into that and get back to us.
If you want to give me your email, Ben, I will give you a very thorough answer on that if you provide that too.
Well, I'll look for it on
Don't
your
put it
Facebook
on the
page.
air, though. Just stay on the line.
Basically, ranked choice would be you have a first and a second or maybe third tertiary vote in what you would like to see. So if your first thing doesn't come about, your second thing might come about.
Yeah, I think right now, Ben, we just need to keep it really simple, and things that are a priority, we need to make a priority.
You should look into ranked choice voting and learn what it is.
Number 3.
Number 3, do you support term limits for the mayor of Missoula?
Yes, sir.
How many terms?
27. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Two.
And number 4, do you support stripping the Cadillac health benefits from city council members because city council does not presently constitute a full-time job? Why should city council members receive the exact same benefits of a normal working person who's working 40-plus hours a week?
Sure, that's a great question. That's something that needs to be explored. Healthcare is a huge topic, and it's very complicated. I need to look at their policies, for sure.
Their policies are outrageous, and they're costing us a lot of money. And
I know they are, yeah.
They're commensurate with the amount of work that they are putting in to serve on city council.
Well, if you want to be honest, it's probably one of the things that would draw a person to become a city councilor. I get pretty sweet insurance benefits.
For sure.
Well, the problem is, we have people who have made the city council position sort of a quasi-career. And that benefit, I'm sure, does attract those people. But I feel like we need to return city council to a public service position or make it a full-time job. You know what? You're going to receive the benefits of a full-time employee, then you should be paid as such.
Right. That costs more money too, Ben. What's your number 4, man?
That was number 4.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. And with that, magically, we're up against our next break.
So ranked choice, which was your favorite question?
Ranked choice, my favorite question was about the X's, actually.
All right, we're going to come right back. Larry, we'll get to you. We have 3 lines open. Really appreciate Maddy taking all these calls. This is great. This is
Yeah, and I'm also curious to hear how you differentiate yourself from Lisa Tripke, the third candidate.
Are we taking a break, or do you want to?
Yeah, we'll do it when we get back.
Okay.
That's called, in the business, we call that a tease.
A tease.
It's a tease.
Oh, it's a lead-in. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back. That's my job. Hey, we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. John King is over there. I'm Peter Christian. Madison, Maddy, Schroeder joining us on the phone. Or I should say in the studio, but on the phone we have Larry. So, Larry, thank you for your for holding. What's on your mind, sir?
Yes, I would have a suggestion for Maddy and any other candidate running for mayor that if they are elected or when they are elected, ask for a performance audit of this city and be specific about things like that have been brought up today about these maintenance districts, how they were created, and if they're legal, and ask for Attorney General's opinion on some of these things, because if you are elected, you will inherit whatever's there, and you will own it. So you need to start with a slate that you can understand, that you know what the legal basis for some of these decisions that have been made in the past are. And I think that would be very important for any candidate to have an audit done. So beyond what the annual audits are that just say you're following generally accepted principles of government accounting, you need to get into the details of some of these things. Healthcare and some of those things need an outside opinion on it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Appreciate that. You know, there's something that if I were running for mayor, I think one of the things that I would do is I would sit down and make an appointment with some city officials, like the city attorney.
Right.
Okay. Like with each and every city council, sitting city council person, just have a quiet cup of coffee. You know, tell me what are your struggles? What do you within your department?
Yeah.
What kind of things do you see that need to be changed? You know, what kind of things are really good? What kind of things are not so good? So that you have the ear of the people that actually do the work, that have the feet on the ground doing the work
Absolutely.
every day within the city. I think that would be a valuable thing to do.
Don't you think the current administration talks with city officials a lot?
No.
Because it seems to me they talk to the city officials, but they don't talk to the public.
Yeah.
That's the main problem.
So I think, and this is my opinion, but I do think that there probably exists some resentment between council members and different department heads against the people of Missoula who continuously criticize their work, because I'm certain that they feel stressed out and worried and exhausted just as much as any one of us feels at our day-to-day job as well. And so I think discussing how those people are feeling and if their needs are being met and if they have the resources to be effective in their position is very important.
So, question for you. I teased this before the break. I wanted to see, how do you differ in your policies from, for example, Lisa Tripke? Because this is a 3-person race.
It is, yeah. So with the other candidate and the incumbent, again, it's a mail-in election, everybody. So please check your mail. Tentatively, the city says they will mail out the ballots on the 18th of October. They are due to be mailed back on the 7th. You can vote at the fairgrounds, but the last day to do that, from my understanding, is the 6th of November. So please look out in your mail. In terms of me differentiating myself against the other candidates, I think that I am the most diverse, unbiased, nonpartisan candidate in the election. I grew up in Missoula. I truly have friends in all realms of life in Missoula. There is no hidden agenda. I don't have anybody that's in my ear asking me to do things because of their profession.
One thing I noticed, you don't have a handler here.
I know, and I forgot my handler at home.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Because many times when a candidate will come in, they'll have somebody with them that's kind of their policy person,
right,
to make sure that they got all the stuff going on. But you're here all by yourself. You got your own notes that you've taken?
Yes. So I like to handwrite notes because one of my high school teachers told me it helps you remember better. So I do take handwritten notes and use that in conjunction with computers. But in terms of myself, I've grown up hunting. I played in punk bands. I've been downtown when it's super late at night and I probably shouldn't be there. I've been at church on Sunday. I grew up Catholic. I have so many friends in so many different areas.
You're well-rounded.
I think I'm pretty well-rounded. There might be some rough edges, but yeah, I just think I'm super open to people. I love discourse. I love interacting with people. I love listening and having thoughtful debates with people. So I think that I would really be the best choice to serve the city of Missoula, which is the job of mayors, to serve the people.
So let's go through some questions here. Brian says, our city government is structured to give the mayor more power than the council. Mayor Engen is so arrogant that he takes his reelection as a mandate to do whatever the heck he wants. He said that several times.
Does it say heck?
Well, no, it doesn't. How will Ms. Schroeder use her executive power, if she gets it, to handle a council that is seemingly antagonistic towards most of her stated views?
Sure, yeah, that's an obstacle. Absolutely. I'm sure that I will upset some people. I have no doubt about that at all. And I will probably frustrate some people. But for me, what it's about is it's not about me. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be about you as a council member, but it should be about your community. I'm extremely community oriented. I love Missoula so much. I care about my neighbors so much. There are so many people that we can listen to and interact with to create a beautiful setting for everyone to coexist in.
Real quick, what ward do you live in, and do you know who your representatives are on the council?
Yeah, so Jordan Hess, Ward 2, that's my dude. I really like him a lot. I think he's doing a great job.
Okay, and who else on Ward 2? There are two, aren't there?
There are two.
Yeah, by the way, that was another question I had for you. So we have the whole county is run by 3 county commissioners. Do you think we need 12 city council people that get a salary?
Well, I mean, to somebody else's point, you could eliminate one and turn one into a full-time position. That's a possibility, right?
Or just keep it as it is. Why do you need 6 more talking heads, it seems to me?
So are you talking about adding?
No, take out 6 of them. Leave 6.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And then, why do you need more people talking? Half of them don't even show up at sometimes.
All right, so what do you think? Okay, tell you what, we're up against our last break. So we've got a caller waiting on the line right now. We have 3 of the lines open, and we'll get Emmett on here in just a moment. 721-1290 is our number. Only about 8 or 9 minutes left if you want to get questions in for Maddy Schroeder's running for mayor. She wants to represent you in the mayor's office, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number, and rapidly coming to the end of our show with Maddy Schroeder. She's running for mayor. Emmett is on the line. Emmett, you're on with Maddy. Go ahead. What's up?
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Well, I just kind of wondered, I came in late to the program. Maybe this has already been answered, but where do you stand on the political spectrum? Are you liberal, conservative? Mm-hmm. Like, I would have voted against the gay equality ordinance that was passed a few years ago. Where do you come on those kind of issues? More progressive, more conservative? How do you feel about the political spectrum on your own, what that you're on?
Keeping in mind that it is, quote, a nonpartisan election, unquote.
Right.
True.
Party har.
Well, but progressive and conservative aren't parties.
I know, but still. Go ahead.
It's really, for me, when it comes to talking about political parties, I think it's easier for people to understand if you label yourself.
Thanks, Emmett.
At this point in my political career, I'm nonpartisan. I'm running nonpartisan as the city charter dictates. And like I said, at this point in my political career, I'm truly nonpartisan. Just so you guys know that are listening, I have voted Republican in the past. I have voted Democrat in the past, and that goes from the president all the way down to the city. So it's kind of been a mixed bag for me. I pick who I like. I pick who I trust. I pick who I think is going to do a good job. And maybe in the future, as I advance in my career, that I'll have to define that a little bit more. But at this time, I'm nonpartisan.
So one of the things I think when you ask about progressive and conservative, there's at least 2 major realms that this decision comes down on: fiscal progressivism and fiscal conservatism, or individual liberties progressivism and individual liberties conservatism. And what our last caller was kind of talking about was individual liberties. But when it comes to the fiscal side of things, do you see the role of government, that things would be better if the government had more money and took authority over more parts of our daily life? Or do you think that things would be better if government had a little less money and took over less of our daily life as far as the things that it did for us?
Sure. So there's, I think the umbrella that falls under is responsibility. And so for me, fiscally conservative as long as needs are being met. That's what I would say about that. And then in terms of the social aspect is, I'm pretty liberal, actually. I think a lot of people would be surprised. It's interesting to me how, when approached by individuals that are on either side of the spectrum, Democrats get really mad at me for being too Republican, and Republicans sometimes get mad at me for being too Democratic.
Ask you this: would you have supported the anti-discrimination ordinance that Emmett was talking about, or was something that you would have opposed?
Oh, support the anti-discrimination ordinance?
Yeah.
And we're talking about the one from a while ago,
right?
Yeah, that was like 2006, 7?
2006. Okay, so just so everyone knows, I do have a girlfriend. So I am a female. I have a girlfriend. I'm in a same-sex relationship. I do not believe that anyone should be discriminated against regardless of their religion, race, any of those things at all, period, no matter what. As long as you're a good person, you're a good neighbor, you're a good worker, you're respectful to one another, that's all I care about. And I think that that's really important, to be respectful and appreciative of your neighbor, especially in Missoula, where it's such a dynamic mix of individuals. It's really a beautiful place, and I love it so much, and that's really important to me.
Okay, let's get Marilyn on the line. Marilyn, you're on with Maddy. Go ahead.
Okay, for starters, that thing wasn't about discrimination one bit at all, but okay, on my question, do you believe that Missoula should be a sanctuary city?
Okay. Hi, Marilyn.
Thanks.
So in terms of the sanctuary city issue, Missoula is having a really hard time right now. And I know this is beyond my breath a little bit in terms of being able to actually do anything about it as mayor. But what I would say in terms of sanctuary city is right now Missoula is having a really difficult time taking care of the people that are already here. I think it's important to take care of those individuals first. Once everyone feels like they have a stable life and they're able to operate and function within the city, then we can talk about adding more layers to the mix.
What do you think about a potential municipal gas tax?
So there is a gas tax that the incumbent is talking about potentially tapping into increasing a gas tax to gain more funds. That's in his introductory letter for the fiscal year 2018 budget that is available online on the city website. Like it or not, I bike, I walk, and I drive. I have an old pickup that I love so much that eats gas like nobody's business. I don't drive it a lot, but nobody likes to feel the hurt of tax. Gas is expensive anymore. You guys know that. Peter especially knows that because you probably have seen the gas price go up pretty significantly.
I used to be able to fill up my car for $5.
See, there you go.
When I was in high school.
She was subtly talking about how old you were. I would never do that.
Pretty much, yeah. Or she would never do that.
No, never. So that's important, though. We can draw from your experience.
I used to have a 69 Chevy Malibu, man. It was awesome.
Why would you let that thing go?
And I could fill that baby up for $5 from dead empty.
Yeah, man, that's so great. And I know, okay, so that's a whole nother issue and climate change and all of those things.
Right,
but,
yeah. We have 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay,
so,
tell you what.
Gas tax, real quick.
Gas tax.
Yes or no?
So we need to stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding. Devil's in the details. Let's look at what we have right now. Let's see how we can maximize solution with what we have to work with right this second.
So you're saying no? I'm
saying no right now.
Okay, right. Now, time for Maddy's Stump speech. We got a minute and a half. So everybody in Missoula is turned up the radio. They want to know why Maddy wants your vote. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I really appreciate your time today. I know that you don't have to have the radio on at work. Just appreciate you so much. I hope to see you out in the community. Come say hi to me anytime. I'd love to shake your hand and give you a hug. I am truly the most diverse, nonpartisan person that you could elect to be mayor. I do not have ulterior motives. I do not have anyone in my ear asking me to do X, Y, and Z. I will listen to people that have concerns and listen to people that have more knowledge than I do in certain areas. Absolutely. The smartest thing that I can do is to listen to people who are smarter than me. That being said, I think that you should vote for me because I'm energetic, I'm diverse, I will truly listen to you and represent you. I am Missoula. I grew up here. This is my home. I am so passionate about all of you. I want you to all have a very beautiful life, a good quality of life, and to be happy living here.
How can people reach you? Do you have a website? If you want to, people want to contribute to your campaign, what do they do?
I do have a Facebook page. Maddy for Mayor 2017 is the @ symbol, or you can just type in Madison Schroeder into the search bar, and that should pop up, hopefully. In terms of getting in contact with me, Maddy for FOR Mayor 2017 @gmail.com. You can also call me. My phone's online.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.